It's time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now.
And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal, go, go, go!
Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to PSGL and to another PlayStation social race on F1 2021. One of the final races before tier placements are announced very, very soon, and we are at Albert Park in Melbourne for the Australian Grand Prix. And these are the drivers that did very, very well in the time trials and the evaluation races. And basically, we just want to see how they do in a race environment. My name is Jess Ball, and joining me in the commentary box is F4 commentator and one of our PSGL directors. It's Mr. Jake Warrior. How you doing, Jake?
I am fantastic. I've been looking forward to this for a while now, and what a grid we've got. We've got the F1 champion in Wilson, we've got the F1 runner-up in Duncan, and then we just got a series of super quick drivers who will really want to prove themselves tonight ahead of the placements later this week.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Australian Grand Prix, first used in Formula One back in 1996, 4 months after Adelaide held its last Australian Grand Prix at the end of 1995. And we expect a lot of action here tonight, and for these drivers tonight, a chance to impress the powers that be on why they deserve to be fighting the best of the best every week. That's why Duncan is here, that's why Wilson is here, to have a little bit of a benchmark as well, because Some of the people may not know where they would fit in the tier spectrum, because there's going to be a lot of tiers, I can tell you that, this season. So many sign-ups already. But we might as well go through who's driving at the moment. We're still waiting on one more driver. That's why we're not showing you the lobby yet. So we have got, in the Mercedes, 2 F2 drivers from last season, Lars and Fabi. Also F2 in the Red Bull is CC Brain with the F1 runner-up, Duncan. Also from F1 last season is the Ferrari driver of Ashbest, and we also have Chiquita 37. Apologies if I get the names wrong. In the McLaren, we have Wilson Hughes, who was F1 champion, double F1 champion, and believe it or not, he actually won the season 27 season opener in Australia, so he knows how to win here at this very, very track. We also got Kareem, who was in F4 last season, in the McLaren as well with Wilson. What a place to be, learning from a double world champion in PSGL. In the Aston Martin, we have Ascom, who is in F2, and we have Danrico 7100. In the Alpine, we have M Short, who was in F2, and he was F3 champion in season 27. And joining him will be Oggiano. In the AlphaTauri, we have the F2 champion from last season, VSR Zander. He was known as Ballina to you and me. And joining him is from F3 last season, Shizu Corne. Apologies again if I get the names wrong. In the Alfa Romeo, we have Fedi M15. Joining him is F1, one of the F1 drivers from last season, Recon. He's not in the lobby at the moment though, so we're just waiting for him to join. In the Williams, we have Deso F1 and Lewis 11004. And in the Haas, finally, we have F2 driver TTD Hadler, and we have Valentine Tide 28. Some drivers I've not heard of, some drivers I've heard from F3, F2, F4 before, and definitely want to make it into the big leagues. So, Jake, what do they need to do to impress the likes of Connor and Kryptonite tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what, anyone who can race alongside Wilson and Duncan's really going to impress. So that's probably going to be the aim for some of these guys. Obviously, a couple of things to note about tonight's social race. Damage is off and there's no safety car, so I suppose that removes any sort of variables, as many as possible. Obviously, it's going to be a dry race as well. So this is really just a test to see what these guys' pace is like and just see how they can do. And if you can get somewhere near the sharp end tonight, you're really setting out a statement to everyone, really, but especially those who are making the placements over the next few days.
I do not envy the guys making the placements whatsoever, because there's still a lot to whittle through. And for those of you that have signed up for season 29 and you probably haven't done your evaluation races or time trial, what are you doing? Get on it right now. You've got until midnight tonight to get them in. If you don't do any one of those, you won't be getting a seat for this season. So make sure you do those before the deadline is actually 23:59 to get the time trials and evaluation races in. So not long to do it, Sarah. Make sure you do it with the assists that you signed up with as well. The no assist tiers are on Mondays, with I think some assist restricted tiers with line only on Monday as well. We got assist tiers running on Sundays and Thursdays as well. So make sure you have the assists that you're running for at this moment in time as well. And I have to say, Wilson was looking very consistent last season to win a double F1 championship. He won in Belgium, Canada, Japan, and he won the final race in Brazil. It was a 17-point gap to VSR Duncan in second place as well. Duncan scored 2 wins over in Zandvoort and in Azerbaijan as well. That win in Azerbaijan helped him keep the championship fight alive for another race, which was very, very exciting. And a driver that we didn't expect to be at the top end, he was in the midfield in season 26 and 27, is definitely putting a statement both in on the end of last game and this game. He's won quite a few social races on this game as well. So with Wilson out of the pitch, because potentially he's not racing on PlayStation this season, could he be a championship contender?
I think it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, the switch over to PC is going to be a huge test for him, and he's proven over the recent seasons just how good he is. So I certainly wouldn't write him off, but I'm expecting him really to be the class of the field tonight, and it's up to everyone else to try and take the fight to him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're about to get underway in PSGL tonight, so don't worry, we've got the action about to head underway as well. And with the clear weather, at least we actually get to see the drivers' actual pace around this track. Last time we were here, like we said earlier, was in season 27. I think it opened PSGL PlayStation at least as well, and it also held the very first Xbox race as well. Unfortunately, we don't have an Xbox tier this season, but nonetheless, I'm sure it'll be absolutely fantastic to see nonetheless. So Recon is not here tonight. He wasn't able to race, but we have a replacement as well. Former F1 esports driver Casper is going to be replacing him in the Alfa Romeo, and he was looking good in France when I was watching him before he had the tyre glitch where he got disqualified for a ridiculous reason, to be fair. Hopefully that glitch is fixed on the game, but nice to see him here as well, fighting against the best of the best, and I think we could have some good fights with Duncan, Wilson and Casper tonight up front.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, the strength and depth in this field alone is just incredible. So I think we're going to have a very closely tight grid. We've got another change as well to point out in the Haas. Valentin Fee is not here, and he's been replaced by MNT Louis, VLT. So that's another late replacement, but what a strong field we've got. And the two guys that I'm interested to see how they do tonight are Cornet and Kerem, because they were in F3 and F4 respectively last season. So, to be placed in this race, it shows that they've made a good jump from the last game to this game, and it really will be intriguing to see just how well they can do against this class of field.
Yeah, definitely, and any one of those people could make it into the top tier, and it's just basically about proving yourself, like we said earlier as well. And it was just so close between the top 2 tiers last season in terms of qualifying. There was a few qualifying sessions where F2 could be in the top 10 on the day. I was looking at comparisons as well. I think in the first race, I think the first couple of drivers were in the top 10 if they were in F1 in terms of qualifying pace. Not quite entirely sure about race pace, because I'm not entirely sure how that calculated, but that shows how much effort these drivers put towards this game. They put a lot of practice into it. And let's go on board with the drivers that we should keep a close eye on tonight is Kerem. He heads towards turn 1, slight bit of understeer heading past then, heading towards turn 2. DRS wide open, of course. You only got one fuel mix to worry about today, and that is standard, and that's the fuel mix that they'll be having for the whole of the qualifying session. You don't really want to be running in links, otherwise you're going to be running that in the whole of the race. Now heading towards turn 6 and turn 7. Mind the curves a little bit on this game as well. If you hit the curves too much, you're probably going to be ending up in a spin more than last game, as a few people have complained, including me as well. Heading towards turn 9 and 10. Oh, there was a Haas that was almost in his way. Luckily, Louis moved out the way for him. Right now, heading towards this long back straight now, getting the power fully on at the moment. He's gaining quite a bit of time. 47.8 was his second sector. I'm not sure what it is compared to his rivals at the moment. Past turn 12, well, I think we're going to see maybe a few instances there tonight. Heading towards turn 13 now as well. Good exit that he's done so far. I feel like his lap could be improved a little bit. Don't forget, these are banker lap times from these drivers. So let's see what he could do heading towards the final corner. He's taken the shortest run to the line. What could it be his provisional time? He's going to be the first one set a lap time, I believe, and it's a 1:19.9. I have a feeling that he can go even quicker, though, but still a lot of time to be found by him, Jake.
Yeah, very nice lap time indeed. I was actually following Ash Best, who was a little bit further up the road, and his first two sector times before he backed out were very comparable to Kerem. So that's pleasing for Kerem on his opening lap, that he was doing sector times that were very similar to someone who was in the top tier last season.
Yeah, that is very good as well. And Ash Best as well had a few moments last season. I think there was a few people that were complaining on social media that, oh, he shouldn't be in F1. But there were many races last season that I was watching where he did brilliant comeback drives. And I'm trying to remember which races that he actually scored some brilliant points. And he proved to us that he did deserve to be placed in F1 as well. And he was one of the admins of F1 last season as well. He got a P3, I believe, in Bahrain Shore, and that was incredible to see. Oh, and I've just jinxed him, and he's been the wall in turn 12. He's invalidated his lap as well, and he's going to go into the pits after that. Luckily, I think it was only his in-lap anyway. I'm just going to try and find someone that's about to finish their lap time. I believe that CC Brain is just about to finish a 1:19.9, quite comparable to Kerem, actually, the same lap time. Wow, I was not expecting that for CC Brain. Kerem could be on the cusp of maybe going into F2 this season, but we're not judging these on qualifying pace alone, don't forget, Jake. We're judging it on qualifying and race pace, so don't count your chickens yet, everybody.
No, absolutely. There's one thing doing it in qualifying, but, you know, you don't win any points in qualifying. It's a race where these drivers have really got to make it count, and, you know, tyre wear strategy and just general consistency over a race distance is going to come into play hugely. But already we're seeing just the class of the season 28 F1 champion Wilson with a 4/10 advantage over his nearest competitor, and with a field as closely knit as this, a 4/10 gap is huge.
Yeah, it is, because in a few F1 races this season, most of the races it was separated by about 5-6 tenths per second. That's how close it was to basically the whole grid. And I think there was a few races where first and second were separated by a few 100s, maybe a few thousands as well. So if you really want to be fighting in the top positions in maybe F1, or maybe want to get into F1 this season, you've got to be winning, I would say, 1 or 2 tenths potentially. Obviously, there's a few other factors that they got to consider as well. You may not be good at qualifying, but you may do good in the race. And qualifying is not where points are won. You won points in the race. It's all well and good having a good qualifying session. If you had a bad race and fall down the grid because on your inconsistency, then you're not going to be getting into F1 due to that as well. So we're just riding on board with Feddy as well in 17th place. He was looking very, very strong in the evaluation races and in the time trials as well, but we haven't seen how well he can do in the race. I believe he's a new driver this season, I don't think he's raced in PSGL before. And we've seen in the past with the likes of, I would say, with seasons gone by, with the likes of Benjamin, of course, who I believe in season 27, it was his first ever F1 season, F2 season in PSGL, and his first season overall, and he managed to get the F2 championship on his first attempt and managed to get into F1 in the next season. We saw that with Sparks as well, have some great form and going into F1 ever so quickly as well. That's what the drivers aim to be right now. Freddy comes across the line in P13 right now. I think everyone else is on their out lap. So these are the first few laps at the moment with 10 minutes left to go in this qualifying session.
Yeah, one driver who's really caught my eye with his opening lap time is Cornet, a driver who I believe I commentated on both in season 27 when he was in F4 and in season 28 in F3. And it's incredible to see the evolution of his pace over that time. You know, he's just continuously improved, and that's not down to luck. There'll be a lot of hard work that's gone into that, and to see him now on a 1:19.8 at this early stage of qualifying, you know, he just keeps improving, and he really could be a driver to look out for because, you know, he's definitely a driver on the up, and you could argue there's maybe a few drivers in this field who maybe aren't at that same rate of evolution at the moment.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the likes of the F2 drivers that were in last season. Lars for a little bit as well, CC Brain, Fabi as well. Cornet is right there with them at this moment in time as well. And even if he may not get into F1, I'm almost certain that if it was based on qualifying pace alone, F2 would be the place for him where he can challenge for that title as well. And that would be a massive jump for him, but I know he can handle it as well. But you never know, he could make the jump from F3 to F1. We've seen many instances in PSGL seasons gone by where there was a massive jump in placements one season where one driver was in F3 for the first season, for example, then they moved all the way up into F1 because of how much improved that they were at the game as well. So you got to prove your worth in every season, of course, and they don't just obviously based on previous seasons because it's a completely new game, different handling model as well, and the performances may get nerfed in the performance patch, which was meant to happen last week, but it did not happen. Don't know when it's going to happen, to be fair, but they are giving it all anyway. Ash Best, I believe, is on the lap now. He needs to improve quite a lot. The runner-up from last season, Duncan, is on his out lap as well, so I want to see what he could do in the Red Bull. I believe, yes, he's in the Red Bull, and I think he'll be up there, I think, with Wilson. So we'll see where Duncan falls in the top half and see where it compares to the rest of the grid as well. Kerem actually moved his way up into P2 already, so we got McLaren 1-2. Let's see what Ash Best could do. He's on, I think he just binned it somewhere because he's on 1:36.4. So he did not improve, unfortunately, but at least as a representative of that time. We got M Short that's just past turn 5 and heading towards turn 6 and 7 as well. Another driver to look that out for as well, because in season 27 won the F3 championship. In season 28 he was looking very, very good in the start of the season in F2. It was his first season, I believe, with no line as well, and I think for some of these drivers it took them a while to get used to no line, because don't forget the top 4 tiers this season, including the ones that myself and Jay will be commentating, different tiers. I'm doing F2, he's doing F4. Completely no assist, so the line, they can't just rely on those, and there's some drivers in F4 on this grid, so this is going to be the first time where they're going to prove that they should not be in like F5, because if they don't do very well here, then F5 could be where they be if they don't pull a good race together. As M Short comes across the line now, it's an improvement, I think, and it is pole position. One provisional pole, 1:19.3, just a few hundredths of a second separating between himself and the F1 champion. Wow, what a good lap from him, and that's a statement for M Short right there in the Alpine. And the Alpine won yesterday with Ocon. I wonder if he's following in the footsteps of the Alpine car yesterday, I wonder.
In true champion spirit, Wilson's on a lap right now, and he's a tenth and a half up for the first 2 sectors, so he might be looking to put M Short straight back in his place as he goes around the final corner, turn 16, onto the main straight. Is Wilson about to take provisional pole position back again? Wow. Yes, he is, a 1:19.1, and well, that's shots fired straight away on that one as Ikome goes up into second in the Aston Martin. So it's closing up at the front, and drivers getting pretty close to the pace of Wilson here at the moment.
I think they must have followed our advice on the stream and said, you know what, if you want to be fighting against the best every week, you got to be within near Wilson's time, and Ascom has definitely improved that. He was a driver that I commentated on in F2 last season. He was a driver that improved race after race after race, a driver that I was not expecting. He finished in 11th last season, but he had some very good strong showings. He actually It was quite a crazy race, the F2 Championship finale, I remember, and because it was decided by one singular point, and there was a bit of a crash as well towards the end, and Ascom actually won the final race in F2, so he was able to improve on his awareness and avoid the trouble as well, and score some very, very good points that put him near the top 10 of the standings as well, so maybe he could rely on that tonight, but he's got to rely on his pace alone, I would think. Fed is coming across the line, 1:19.9 for him, and we got Duncan 1:19.3, so he just finished a lap then. Louis is the only driver yet to set a lap time right now, and he's just about to start one, heading towards turn 1 now.
One driver and keeping an eye on his last season's F2 champion, Xander, as he invalidates his lap through turns 11 and 12. I saw him earlier on in the session actually have a spin on the exit of turn 12. He's currently down in 19th with a lap time that I would say is not representative of his true pace. He was on an improvement there up until that invalidation of about half a second, but not the start to qualifying that the last season's F2 champion would have been hoping for. A few little mistakes in there and just hasn't got the lap together yet.
Yeah, this is definitely not what he wants to do if he wants to be in F1 next season, even though he was looking very, very good in the social races as well. Sometimes you got to be good at a majority of tracks that you may not be good at originally. You got to be good at them to make sure that you fight for the F1 title, even the F2 title as well. There's a few drivers are heading towards the pit lane as well for their final laps. Louis, let's follow Louis as he heads towards the final sector. Then the only driver out on the lap at the moment, I believe that's going to be his final lap, unless he's going to go out again. He's on the soft compounded tyres now. Everybody is on the soft compounded tyres, and here he goes. I think he stayed. Well, no, he goes up into 13th from 20th, so not bad for him. Just look how close this grid is at the moment. The top 18 separated by around about 8, 9 tenths of a second. Holy moly, if this what season 29 is going to be for PlayStation, I'm all for it.
It's great to see this competitive edge, how close and tight the field is. And I mean, Kerem, about 2 minutes ago, I'm pretty sure he was up on the front row of his McLaren teammate Wilson. In a space of a few minutes, he's dropped to 8th. It just shows how competitive this field already is. You got Jackie Tao, who's done a couple of good laps and finds himself up in 5th. Cornet again with a good improvement up to 7th. And yes, so close in this field at the moment. And it's going to be all come down to these final laps. 3 minutes left in the session. And there'll probably be one fine lap left for each of these drivers to try and extract the most out of their cars.
I wonder if someone will be doing what Lewis Hamilton did to Max Verstappen in the Hungaroring in qualifying on Saturday, which he was allowed to do, of course, because he had track position as he came out of the pits. And surprisingly, Christian Horner was, I thought he was going to be a bit more angry about it, but he was actually all right about it, knowing that he had track position, and he probably should have sent out the engineer, should have probably sent Max Verstappen out earlier potentially as well. But yeah, this is a track where you really don't want to leave it too late to set your qualifying lap. And just look at the queue of cars past sector 1 right now. We got 2 McLarens, one I think it's an Alpine car or it's a Williams car, I don't know. It's hard to tell the colours on this game. And one Mercedes, and we got a Haas car leading the train as well. I don't know what these drivers are going to do. They're going to have to rely on Hamilton clear air as well, because if they are blocked by someone in front of them, that's just going to hinder their lap. They're going to lose so much downforce due to the dirty air. They've got to make sure they get their lap as quickly as possible. I believe Casper's just about to start a lap as well. He's got some clear air. He wants to get in a lap as quickly as he can. F2 champion Xander, he's on a lap too. Past turn 2, heading towards turn 3. Tricky braking zone into this right-hand curb there as well. Very, very nicely done there. Let's see what his sector 1 is coming up as you head towards turn 5 coming up here as well. We've seen quite a few people bin it as well. So I think near turn 6 and 7, 3 tenths up on sector 1. This is looking good for Xander. It was a bit skirmish on the exit in the start of sector 2, but his sector 1 was looking very, very good.
No, absolutely, and he really needs this lap right now as he heads through the Clark chicane, turns 9 and 10 and up to the most challenging part of the track, and it's part of the track that's already caught him out a couple of times in this session. So let's see how he deals with turns 11 and 12. This time, a little bit of a correction on exit, but pretty good. So continuing on with this lap, and now you've got an easy sort of 90-degree right-hander turn 13, and a much more tricky corner at turn 14. It's very easy to run a little bit wide, carry too much curb, And now into the penultimate corner. Very nice. This is looking like the sort of lap that he was looking for. But what will it do for him in terms of the time? A little bit of a wiggle on exit, but up to the line, Xander goes. And that's a brilliant lap up the fourth when he really needed it, right to the death. No pressure at all on his shoulders there when they could have easily have got to him up to fourth. And yeah, great effort.
That's what I'm talking about from Xander. He needed to get that lap in. It didn't look good that the F2 champion was in last place at the moment, and he's saving the best to last, and that's what he's doing as well. Kermit on the lap as well. We got an Aston Martin on the lap. They're all on a lap, ladies and gentlemen. There's 2 people on out laps as well that I'm questioning on whether they're going to make it. But let's follow Kerem as he heads towards the final corner. Start finish straight then. Can he get higher than 10th position? He's 8/100ths slower than his previous best, and Wilson almost gets into the 118s with that lap, and he has time to do one more, 119.0, and he's going slow, so he's not going to improve again. So we got a Mercedes, I believe, about to finish a lap. That is Fabi. Not looking too good during the final sector, but let's see what he could do. Can he find some time on the start finish straight? A 119.6 heads into P13. Then we got an AlphaTauri, that is Cornet as well. Bumped his car up into 8th place. I believe it's an Alpine car next, which it is M Short. He comes across the line in 3rd position. Then we got the Alfa Romeo's Casper, who was looking good in the social races. Can he get higher than 14 to get his car into the top 10? Yes, he can. He certainly can. P3, absolutely fantastic. Aston Martin then, I believe that is, it was Ascom. He slots his car into P2. We've got a Ferrari as well of, I believe it's Ash Best heading towards turn 13, but there's more car finishing their laps ahead of him as well that could go even quicker. Ogiano slots his car into P5. What a good lap from him. And Danico, where did that lap come from? 119.2. Take a bow. Fair play. I think that's it for qualifying then. Wilson takes pole, but I was not expecting the Aston Martins to take P2 and P3. I was expecting either Duncan, Casper, or even M Short, or even Xander to fill those spots. But no, it is the outsiders of this race, and that is amazing, I have to say. But Wilson has got a huge gap up front, 2 tenths separating between P1 and P2. But the story at qualifying has got to be the 2 Aston Martins.
No, absolutely. And Danico right to the death with that stunning lap to pop it on the front row. I followed his last sector round. I thought it was going to be a slight improvement, but he found even more pace in that final sector. You know, I sort of had him down to go about 5th or 6th, but he found something in those last few corners to pop it onto the front row. Great effort from him. I also quickly caught Duncan's final effort, and he had some gravel on his tyres, suggesting he'd had an off somewhere. So that's why his final lap didn't come together. So last season's F1 runner-up, 8th on the grid, he'll probably be slightly disappointed with that.
I think he will, because he expects better. He expects to be challenging for the F1 title this season, and for him to be in 8th, I don't think he'll be happy with that at all. But we're just looking at the gaps now, and let me go through who is going to be racing here in the qualifying order. So Wilson puts his car on pole position, Danny Occo in 2nd, 2 Italians, I believe, in 2nd and 3rd. That is pretty amazing, I have to say. Casper in 4th position, M Short in 5th, Ogiano in 6th, Xander in 7th, Duncan in 8th, Jack in 9th, and Korn rounds up your top 10. They will have to start on the soft compounded tyres. 3 choice of tyres go to TGG Hadler, Kerem, Lars, Ashbeth, Deso, Fed, Fabi, Louis, CC Brain, and Lewis. The top 19 separated by 9 tenths of a second, with Lewis just missing out on being within 1 second of Wilson.
Yeah, really exciting qualifying there, and a few surprises, it has to be said. You know, you got Cornet and Kerem right fighting there on the top 10, and maybe another driver who will be slightly disappointed, as I think he's an F2 veteran, really, and he does a lot of great graphic work for PSGL. I should point that out. But yeah, CC Brain down in 19th. He'll also be a little bit disappointed. 9 tenths off pole. He would have wanted to be closer.
Yeah, I think he would as well. And to be honest, if he wants to make sure that he stays in F2 for as long as he can, he needs to pull off a good performance in a race. And speaking of CC Brain's talent, if you haven't watched the Battle of the Best video that was produced by him the other day, make sure you check it out. It's the Netflix style Drive to Survive, and I have to say it's amazing. It's a good watch. I know it's about almost an hour and a half, but definitely a good entertainment for your Monday night. So if you haven't already, make sure you check it. George and Jack are in there as well. It covers the battle with Gianna Otmir and Barry Bormand as well on the PC tier as well. So credit to CC Brain for producing a stellar video, and I think I could agree with you that was just fun to watch from the commentators' perspective of what they thought of the season, and just some key moments of what could have been for the two championship contenders as well. And just to point out as well, we're on 3,000 subscribers now on PSGL YouTube channel, so good job everybody. Thank you guys for all your support, and let's keep this going on the F1 2021 game cycle. And we're going to get to the formation lap now and talk about the tyres. Mediums for outside the top 10 apart from Ash Best, Jake.
Yeah, it was sort of a little surprise when it popped up there. Ash Best starting on the hard tyres, maybe going for something a little bit different. I suspect those who had to, of course, start on the soft tyres, it's either top 10. The soft to hard strategy may be the way to go for those guys, but maybe Ash Best wants to go a little bit deeper into the race and utilise a shorter soft stint at the end. We shall see. Of course, there's no safety car or anything like that or damage, so, you know, from that regard, I'm a little bit surprised to see him on the hards, but I don't know, maybe he's got something up his sleeve.
Yeah, maybe he wants to show what he could do on the alternate strategy, because it is a social race at the end of the day. But if I was him, I would have probably gone for the soft. So I remember the first ever PSGL race I ever commentated, which was almost a year ago now, believe it or not. It's just the memories are coming back to me. Was in Belgium. They had to start on the soft compounded tyres, no matter what. Whereas these drivers, they could go on whatever strategy they want to prove that they can actually make that strategy work and climb up as many places as well. And yes, with damage off as well, it just shows what they could do in terms of racecraft as well, and also their perseverance as well. If they end up spinning due to making contact with a driver, then they can't just rage quit or something like that. That is not a true representative of a, say, F1/F2/F3 driver. They want drivers who improve every race and want to get better and better. So we're about to get started then for the final social race before the tier placements are announced. If you want to find out when they get announced, follow the Premier SimGL Twitter channel for more information. We don't know what date it's going to be yet, but make sure you keep an eye on to see where your favourite driver will be placed this season for PSGL on PC and PlayStation. The 5 red lights are coming on. Wilson is on pole and Aston Martin alongside him. We already got a drive-through penalty already for a jump start, but it is underway in Australia, and Wilson's got a very good start, but Danico has dropped a little bit, but I think Ascon's got a much better start. Casper going side by side with the Aston Martin. I think he's got to get better traction as they head towards turn 2. I think a few missed opportunities for some of the drivers. Duncan's made his way up to P6, a great start from him as he's tried a battle with the Alpine of Oggiano. Cornet has moved up into 9th position from 10 as he tries to get past the Ferrari heading towards turn 3, and there's a spinner. Who was that? I'm not entirely sure. The timing towers are going absolutely crazy at the moment, but I believe it's Wilson that still leads the way with the 2 Aston Martin still holding strong. No position changes up front from lap 1. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, and it looks like CC Brain was the unlucky driver that had a little spin on the first lap. I've got to say, Wilson absolutely nailed that start, but the 2 Aston Martins staying there with him as well and getting exactly the start that they would have hoped for. Probably didn't expect to be on the front row with Wilson, but got a very good start indeed. And we've got battling going on further down as Duncan and M Short battle away for 5th place, and it looks like Duncan may have gained that place from M Short.
Yeah, he did. Great job from him as well. He looked so committed through these next couple of corners, and I'm sure he's going to do all he can to try and get past Casper as well. We also got Xander, who could get past Oggiano very, very soon as well. Don't forget, DRS not enabled yet until lap 3. So they got one more lap of no DRS at the moment, and Lewis's day has gone from bad to worse. He's also got a jump start. He also had a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So not the way he wanted to start his race then. Jack looking very good to try and get past Xander, the F2 champion, and you definitely want to be ahead of him at the moment. And we got the other AlphaTauri fighting alongside as well, who lost the position after getting the Ferrari overtaking him once again. Meanwhile, the leading medium runner, Karim, looking very, very good at the moment. Let's look at the position changes at the moment, because I'm sure a lot of people would want to have a look at it. Duncan up 3 positions, Karim up 1, Lars up 1, Deso up 1, Louis up 3, Fabi up 1. Biggest loser has got to be Ash Best, down 3 positions.
Duncan just showing some of those skills that enabled him to be runner-up in season 28 there. Just, maybe shaking off that bad qualifying as quickly as possible and just focusing on getting the best possible race start. And at a track like this, to gain 3 positions on the opening lap, that's not an easy feat at all. So Duncan really showing all his experience and nous there to get the best possible start and put himself back into contention.
We do have a yellow flag. I believe it may be Lewis once again, or it might have been a Red Bull driver. I think CC Brains backed off a little bit, or he might have had a bit of contact from someone, I don't forget. So don't forget, these drivers will not be pitting unless they have to serve a drive-through. So that was why Lewis pitted earlier on as well. But their tyres are going to be ever so hot if they end up going into a spin. So they're going to be hurt by that even more. So they really don't want to be making contact with any drivers or spinning as well, because there's plenty of corners to lose it as well. So they've just got to focus and get the hammer down, because a prize is to potentially get into the top tier of PlayStation on PSGL, and that is no mean feat. CC Brain is also having a bad race, 3-second time penalty for him right now. Let's see who's looking closest up in the grid right now. Duncan's still looking pretty good. Daniel Coe is still keeping up with the pace of Wilson right now, and don't forget, with Wilson a champion, you definitely want to be keeping up with some of your nearest rivals as well. And if Daniel Coe could keep up with the rest of the race as well as Ascom, then that could mean bigger things for season 29 for the Aston Martin drivers. Maybe they could be teammates this season, who knows, or they could be elsewhere, I don't know. But it's looking very good for the Aston Martins. Looking good for Casper as well. I think Casper's finding his own feet. Casper's reminding me of Fernando Alonso, Kimi Raikkonen, who hit their peak earlier on a few seasons ago, and is just here on the F1 games to have some fun. And usually when you have some fun, you get better results, and that is what Casper is doing right now. He's forgetting the pressure at the moment, and it looks like he's actually enjoying himself right now on the track.
That's it. Sometimes if you go into it with no pressure, no expectations, it brings the best out of you, because you just don't have any worries, you don't have any concerns, and you just go out and you just find that rhythm straight away. Some drivers can just, they take the pressure, they fly with it, it doesn't bother them at all. But for some other drivers, just having less expectation on their shoulders, it allows them to fulfill their potential. And we're seeing that with Casper right now. He looks very comfortable in that P4 right now, and he's not under massive threat from Duncan either, which is a little bit surprising in some regards. But yeah, Wilson leading the way at the moment, but he's still got both Aston Martins right there with him. So, this is not a walk in the park perhaps that Wilson may have been hoping for.
No, one of the 2 Aston Martins are playing a team game, just like Alpine did yesterday, the Hungarian Grand Prix as well. That will be absolutely amazing to see. Don't forget, these drivers in the soft tyres will be thinking of pitting around about lap 8, lap 10 for the hard compounded tyres. The softs last around 12 laps around this track, and you lose 1.566 seconds if you go onto the hard tyres compared to the softs. But heading towards, I would say, lap 9, that is where the mediums will be at the most optimum pace compared to the softs. The mediums lose about a second between the softs at the moment, but the delta will pretty be much the same as we head towards lap 10. So keep an eye on for the medium runners, keep an eye on for Kerem as we head to this race. Keep an eye on Lars, who's on the back of Kerem right now as well, who did quite well in the races that he was in F2 last season. Great to have him back, of course, looking so good at the moment, and he's looking to probably try and forget his poor qualifying right now. Maybe he wanted to go on the alternate strategy on purpose, because we've seen in many races on PlayStation and on PC in the social race calendar on F1 2021, where we saw the alternate strategy work to perfection, but there were some drivers that just weren't at the pace to be able to do that. I wonder what Lars can do with this alternate strategy then. Brilliant straight line speed as they head towards turn 10. Down through 11 and heading towards turn 12. That was a brilliant exit and entry into turn 12. And I think Lars is going to have the DRS. Could he go on the right-hand side? Nope, he stayed behind Karam. He doesn't want to challenge just yet. There just wasn't enough space at the moment. And there's another battle happening up front as well with the likes of Jack and Xander. We also got the likes of Duncan and Casper and Ascom and Danny Rico as well. Those are the battles to watch out for as we head to lap 6 of this race as well. Duncan looking very, very good. Let's watch him. This could be a tasty battle for P4 of this race then. I think he's going to go for it. Casper also have the DRS, but Duncan's looking even more impressive. Both trying to leave as much space as they possibly can as they head towards 4. Now heading towards turn 5 for Casper. He closed the door there. Brilliant defensive work from him. Casper is a defending legend, I have to say, but Duncan's still doing a great job. And it is our F2 champion that's just gone into a spin.
Oh, absolute disaster there for Xander. He's fallen all the way down to 15th, and that little spin is proven to be quite costly. He's now finding himself in the midst of those medium tyre runners, which is not where you want to be when you start on softs. So, real disaster for Xander. He's had a couple of moments in this race, not looked entirely comfortable. I don't know if it's whether the balance of the car or the track or whatever, but it's not working out for him. But I tell you what, I've just noticed here, look how close Nico has got to the back of Wilson.
Yes, he is. Look at this. Are we actually going to see a driver who is on the levels of Wilson? We've seen the likes of Wilson when he first started at PSGL. I think it was F3, and we saw this was talent. This was talent right there, and we could predict that he was going to do well. This could be the sign for things to come for this man here at this moment in time. He was chosen to be in this race for a reason. All 20 drivers were picked because they had really good time trials and evaluations, while Wilson and Duncan were here mainly because they want to see how the other drivers compare with the 18 drivers that are here. But the 18 drivers are here because they want to see what they can do against the best of the best. And I have to say, they are definitely giving Connor and Kryptonite something to smile about here today as well. And they're probably saying in the cockpit, Connor, Kryptonite, pit me into F1 or F2 and I could do very well. And to be fair, I'm not going to say anything more because I'm probably going to jinx myself, because it's hard to predict on who I think is going to be placed where. But to be honest, I still don't know. That's just amazing stuff. It's just nice to see some new drivers who you're not expected to be up there do well as well. And I'm not sure he's raced in any leagues before, but he's been looking very, very impressive.
Oh, and it looks like Karam? No, Cornet has had a moment on the exit of turn 12, and that's cost him a load of positions, and quite similar in a way to what we saw with Xander, just making a mistake and falling down outside where the soft tyre runners are going to be. But here we go, Aston Martin starting to play the strategy game now as Aski Kome comes into the pits for an early change of tyres.
He goes on to the hards earlier than we would expect at this stage, but I do believe it can make it until the end. Hard tyres can make it 23 laps, so yeah, he should be absolutely fine as well, covering off that undercut and also helping his faster teammate as well. And sometimes you have to prioritise your own teammate if they're ahead more than yourself if you're aiming for the Constructors title as well. So Aston Martin already playing mind games as well. What is Wilson going to do? What is Danico going to do? And more importantly, what is Casper and Duncan going to do as well? Are they going to try and respond? Are we going to see a queue of cars go into the pit lane? That's going to be insane to watch, I have to say. But I know both of the Alpines are going to be under huge pressure because one person will have to stay out and they're potentially going to lose so much time to the undercuts. And maybe Oggiano, maybe he could pit first, or maybe M Short. I don't know. Maybe they probably talked this through before the start of the race, maybe, or maybe they're just working by themselves because they were put into teams based on the car they wanted to. Of course, it was first come, first serve. So Wilson, is he going to come in? Yes, he does come in, and Daniel Coe comes in as well. Casper's in. Duncan stays out. M Short is in. Oggiano stays out. I was expecting Oggiano to stay out because obviously you can't have both teammates in the same pit box. But Duncan, he's still out there at the moment. He's probably trying for that overcut. Can it work for him? We'll have to wait and see.
There was some real spicy mind games going on there at the back end of that lap. Wilson left it as late as possible to dive into the pits, hoping that he could potentially catch out the Aston Martin. But here we go, and out the pits. And it's looking like he's kept the lead, Wilson, but only just. And he's now got the other Aston Martin putting pressure on him. But a big difference here is that Wilson has gone for the mediums, whereas Askikome and Casper are on hards. So there's a real difference now in terms of the tyres that some of these guys are using. And Wilson going for the more aggressive strategy.
Yeah, I have to say, it is hard. There is no safety cars. I would understand if there was a safety car, you would probably go on the mediums because you would run at a reduced pace. But I wonder if Wilson wants to end his final PlayStation race with us on PSGL with a bang. And I think that's what he's going to do. Go for the aggressive strategy and show us that you just want to have some fun, to be honest. He's got nothing to fight for. He is here because he is the best of the best on the PlayStation platform on the PSGL. So that's amazing. Meanwhile, we've got Louis and Hadlov going side by side as well. F2 Titans going into battle. There's a bit of contact with Fabi as well. So he may have lost a bit of time as well. Luckily, there's no damage in this race. So that is good for him. And Wilson tries to get past some traffic. Orgiano goes into the pits and he goes onto the hards. Duncan stays out again. I'm almost certain with how long Duncan is pushing those soft tyres, he's going to be going on into the medium potentially. There's no way he'll be going onto the hards because I think the way he's going, the mediums can make to the end wherever lap he pits. 21.5 seconds is the pit lane loss you lose, the time you lose in the pit lane. 5 tenths less than the last game. So Duncan's got to be very, very quick and very strategic here. Let's hope that it plays out well for him as well. Lars is right on the back of Kerm as well. Kerm is the lead medium runner at this moment. He's been looking very, very good at this stage. They're going to be on fresh tyres at the end. Will they be going for the aggressive strategy like Wilson did earlier on and maybe go for the sauce? We don't know. We will find out later on in this race. Going towards turn 10 now. Looking very, very good goes Lars in a Mercedes car. They're having to drop back a bit due to the dirty air, but look at Hadler. He's very, very hungry right now. He got his first ever PSGL win last season in F2 at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and he has never looked back. Unfortunately, he did not make the final race in Brazil last season. If he did, he probably would have been in the shot of the title, but he's definitely looking very, very good with the medium runners right now as Duncan finally goes into the pits, and my calculations are correct. He stayed out because he wants to go onto those medium tyres. Wilson comes into the final corner. I'm almost certain Wilson is going to be ahead, but we will have to wait and see. Denrico is having a lot of trouble trying to get past some traffic, so let's see where Duncan slots in. So Duncan's going to slot in behind the second Aston Martin, so not too bad, but it could have been a lot worse. But Wilson still inherits the lead, the net lead of the Australian Grand Prix.
Casper went for a move around the outside of Duncan, trying to take advantage of Duncan getting his tyres up to temperature, but couldn't quite make the move stick. He knew he had to do it there with Duncan. Ash Best is in the wall. So they just went past Ash Best, who was, of course, started on those hard tyres, and he's had to crash into the wall, and that's really cost him in this race. We've got another yellow flag in sector 2. I don't think that's still Ash Best recovering. But yeah, Wilson putting in our fastest lap to try and stay in front. But that's worked out pretty well for Duncan. Did a massive overcut, and he's not actually really lost out at all. He's still right behind the two Aston Martins. So still very much in play here. And on those pressure mediums, tell you what, playing the long game, he could come back at Wilson later on.
Yeah, he's going to be on the fresher tyres as well. So I think Duncan versus Wilson again. In the final few laps, just game on, and there was almost a little bit of a tap between. Oh, that was interesting from Duncan and Desso there. Luckily, no damage, because otherwise it could have been a lot worse. As Desso goes into the pits, I think he doesn't want to go for the aggressive strategy. He wants to go, I believe, on the hard tyres. There's no way you're going to go on the soft. The soft don't make it until the end. From here, I'll say lap 17, 18 area if you were to go for the soft compounded tyres until the end of the race, as Desso does go on to the hard compounded tyres. So looking at the people still yet to pit, the driver that's been looking the best is Karam, holding up Lars at the moment in time, but Hadler has just been looking good lap after lap right now. He couldn't get past Lars the last lap, but I think he's just determined to gain. Oh, that was a slide and a half. That's gained Louis more momentum as well, going in towards turn 9 and 10 then. Let's see what he could do as well. This is not what Hadler wanted, but this is definitely what Louis wanted. Past turn 12 now. DRS activated. They both have DRS at this moment in time. Louis just stays behind. We do have another yellow flag. Not quite sure what that is for, but the Hasses, they're not doing as well in real life, but they're definitely doing well here in this race. They're definitely reminding me of the Mick Schumacher battle that we saw yesterday. Fair play to Mick Schumacher, by the way, for holding up so many people and defending very nicely. As Louis has spun in the final corner, I think he just lost a bit. I think he just got on the throttle too early, and that just lost a chunk of time. And I think Fabi has done exactly the same thing.
We just had a huge change of position as well as Danico got past his teammate Asacombe. It was an important move that had to be made. You've got Danico on the mediums and his teammate on the hards, and with Duncan right on the prowl behind them, it was an important switch that they had to pull off. But they also had to pull it off well, because they had to make sure that Duncan couldn't capitalise on it, which he hasn't. So once again, Aston Martin playing the team game really effectively here, and that's released Danico. But you can already see, just in that short space of time, the gap that's developed between Wilson and Danico could be telling.
Yeah, Danico's also gone for the aggressive strategy as well, so he is following in the footsteps of an F1 champion, of course. But oh, Duncan has gone for a spin. That is so easy to do, heading towards turn this next section of corners. Unfortunately, that was a real shame from Duncan there, as he is unfortunately have to pick up the pieces, unfortunately. But this is what he's going to have to do. He's going to learn from his mistakes, unfortunately. But we will have to find out later on what he could do. Ash Best getting a penalty as well. Penalties could definitely come into factor as well, as Kerem has got a penalty up front potentially, and Lars got no penalties as well. Not quite sure how many warnings people have got as well, as Lars is trying to gain on Kerem now at the moment, after Hadler and Louis have had a little bit of a scrap as well. Wilson has got past Louis. I wonder if Danny Ricciardo is going to have the similar issue to Wilson, or is he going to get away and get past these guys? He's got to get past them surely, because he's on the fresher tyres, but his tyres are going to be an absolute nightmare towards the end. It's a shame we can't see what their tyres look like. We got another spinner. I wasn't quite sure who that was. I think that was one of the Alpines, or maybe they were just moving out of the way of people on fresher tyres. I don't know, but this is looking like a tasty race. We're already halfway in. This is great.
Yeah, the Williams pair, they're having a few struggles, and it looks like Lewis went for a potential spin around the final corner. For the first time in this race, the two Alpines have been split. The Ferrari of Jaquita has got in between the pair of them, so that may hinder Alpine's strategy going forward. And Jaquita just quietly making his way through the field. He's running a pretty good race here. Another driver going for the more aggressive strategy, and he's actually looking like he wants to go for a move on the other Alpine, and he does so. Jaquita past M Short, and the Ferrari boys on a charge right now.
Wow, take a bow there through turn 13. You had to be very, very confident to get the move done there earlier on. And then through 14 and 15, he looked so committed. I have to say, he's looking on for a really good points finish. Even though you don't get points in this race, this is a social race, but he is definitely proving a point and a statement as well, I have to say. I'll be very happy if I get to commentate on him this season in F2, or if Luke and Mark get to commentate on him F1. He's definitely proving the point right now. I think it's going to be very hard for Connor and Kryptonite to choose these placements, after loads of people are pulling out stellar performances today and showing what they could do here on this racetrack. And this is going to be a sign of things to come for not just F1, F2, F3, but all the PlayStation tiers and all the PC tiers as well, which is going to be a hell of exciting as well. Lars, he's just not budging at the moment, is he? I'm sure Lars is going to think of a move soon, but he doesn't want to get involved in the spin, because any closer and he just lose so much downforce to Kerem. So I think it's just going to be a question of who blinks first between the pair of them. Kerem's gone a bit wide a bit here. This could be Lars' opportunity to get the lead of this race, but both of these drivers still has yet to pit. I'm almost certain Lars and Kerem are going for the aggressive strategy here, because otherwise they wouldn't be staying out too long, or you never know, they may be going on to the hard strategy. Kerem closes the door on Lars into turn 1, and Kerem takes keeps the lead of the Australian Grand Prix, and Wilson's caught up to this train almost, so he will inherit the lead very, very soon, and he's doing an incredible job right now. That's how much time people are losing due to Wilson's being on much fresher mediums compared to the top three being on much worn mediums since the very start. And Louis and Fabi made contact. Louis with the spin. There was nothing that Fabi could have done, unfortunately. Louis just not finding his feet a little bit around this track. So many spins, and there's another spin as well. I bet that was a spin in frustration. What a shame that's dropped him down into P14, Jake.
Yeah, we know how crucial this race could be. It could be the difference between them getting placed in maybe F1 or F2, and when they make a mistake like that, it's bound to be frustrating. So, yeah, Louis will not be happy with that, but it's really created a massive train now, that Louis Spinks. It bunched a bunch of cars up together. So you've got Casper, you've got Jakita, you've got two Alpines all there. Duncan has even almost caught back up to this train as Danico has gone for a spin, it looks like.
Yeah,
and he's fallen down all the way to 12.
One of the stars of the show, one of the drivers I was not expecting to obviously qualify higher than he did. He was able to keep in the pace of Wilson Hughes earlier on in the race. Maybe the pressure got to him in that Aston Martin car, and now he's got to pick up the pieces to try and get past the Alpine cars. This is his pure test right now to see what he can do. Meanwhile, Lars up in front has got the lead of this race from Kerem. He did what he needed to do. He just could not wait any longer. He wanted to be ahead before the pit stop so he can get the pit stop preference in the pit lane as well, and he can come out of the pits ahead even if they pit at the same time. Handler is still looking very good to try and take P2 from Kerem as well, which is very, very impressive. The top three are just keeping up much similar places in terms of lap times. This could be very, very good in terms of their chances as well. Don't forget, this is the best of the best of drivers that did very well in their time trials and their evaluation races in season 29 sign-ups. Don't forget, if you are still watching and you still got to do your evaluation races and your time trial for season 29, you haven't got long. You've got until 23:59 tonight to get those in. Otherwise, you will not get placed into a lead. That goes for PlayStation and PC. And if you're interested in signing up, well, you can't. Sign-ups are closed. It's only people that have already signed up that still got to do their time trials and evaluation races. When will the drivers pit? Lars goes in. Kerem does not follow, neither does Handler. Wilson will be promoted to third then on the track. Fede comes in as well. That is interesting. And Lars goes on to the soft as expected. So it proves that the aggressive strategy can be done.
And I would just wonder if the approaching Wilson has sort of swayed Lars's hand there, because the last thing he wants is to get caught in a battle and lose more time. If he can get out of that battle before Wilson gets there, then he'll lose less time, and he's hoping he's rejoined in clear air, and he has actually. That's worked out beautifully for Lars. He's rejoined just in front of Xander, and he can now get the hammer down. He's actually got a lovely bit of clear air to work in front of him.
Yeah, he has as well, and the soft tyres for the likes of Lars as well and Kerem when they go into the pits, they're going to be gaining so much compared to the mediums and the hards. It's going to be hard to try and get past them, but remember Jarno Opmeer, season 28, Australian Grand Prix, there was a safety car that changed everything, even though there's no safety cars, but still, he was on the right tyres. He went from, I think, 9th at that point to near the front, which was absolutely crazy. So we may not see that extremes here, but I know Lars is hungry to try and get as many positions as he can. He's around about 8.6 seconds compared to Danico, which is on the mediums. 1 second difference between the softs and the mediums, and quicker in terms of that front. So Kerem goes into the pits. That releases Wilson to the race lead. Handler is in as well. Let's watch Lars. That's going to be the crucial factor. Is Lars going to be ahead of the likes of Kerem and Handler, who stayed out for a lap longer? We'll have to wait and see. So Lars comes towards the start finish straight then. Is he going to keep P9 from these guys? Yes, he does. That undercut has worked well for the Mercedes driver. Kerem has lost well, actually, he technically hasn't lost a place there, as Lars has overtook him earlier on, but we got the likes of Cornet and Xander as well going side by side. Louis setting the fastest lap of the race, and you have to say, Jake, that move before the pit stops for Lars was very crucial getting ahead. Danico's actually got past Duncan, as Duncan's gone for a spin, that's why.
Yeah, lovely undercut, worked perfectly there by Lars. And I've got to say as well, Hadler went into the pits, literally right with Kerem, but he's now got both Alpha Tauris between himself and the McLaren driver, so that really hasn't worked out all too well for Hadler. Although he's made quick work of Xander, and he'll look to do the same with Cornet, but it just shows of how close that group was that Hadler lost basically had 2 cars between himself and his rival there. And that should allow Kerem to build a couple of seconds of gap before Hadler has some clear air.
Yeah, this is not what Hadler wants as well. He's in dirty air, which is going to lose so much time in terms of pace, and it's what he's going to do to handle the pressure at the moment. These drivers are definitely in a league of their own, but in a lot more pressure as well. More yellow flags as well. There's a few spins, I think, in the turn 13 area, but let's see what Hadler could do. Start, finish straight, ever so quicker on the softs compared to the hard. It was inevitable really for Hadler. He gets past one hard runner. His next victim is, well, his next target for attack, I should say, is VSR Duncan in 10th position. He wants to get in to the points today. He does have a penalty though, which is not it's not usual for him, because usually he keeps it clean, but probably people are more prone to be getting penalties on this game. I'm the same. I hardly get any penalties in races, but on the F1 2021 game, I just get penalties left, right and centre. So just maybe due to the handling model taking a little bit longer to get used to for some of the drivers as well. As Jack gets a penalty, I believe that's his first one as well. We haven't really talked about the M Short and the Alpine drivers too much, but they're doing very well to hold the train. The cars of Daniel Coe behind, and Lars could catch up as well. He could be in this train as well. And this is not the Trulli train. This is the Ascom's train. Ascom is doing absolutely phenomenal to be in P2 and try to hold on. Casper, who was fighting for championships in PSGL in the past and was a former Renault esports driver. I would have liked to say I've beaten a former esports driver. Would you?
Maybe at a game that wasn't F1 I might have a chance, but definitely not on the F1 game. But I tell you what, Jector's looking really threatening here behind Casper, obviously on the medium tyres. But I tell you what, we're getting to that sort of stage now where the effect of those medium tyres, it won't be as profound over the hard tyre runners as what it was. So really, the guys that are on hard tyres and are still in a strong position, you're looking at Askicombe, Casper and Oggiano. They're really in strong positions right now. They've done a good job to keep with this group of cars, and they potentially could have something to say at the end of a race where you'd imagine the hard tyres in the last 5 laps will be in slightly better nick than the mediums.
Yeah, I would say watch out for the Alpines for the end of the race. I did say that when I was watching the Hungarian Grand Prix with my dad yesterday. Watch out for the Fernando Alonso. It was great to see Alonso and Hamilton yesterday battling it out back like the old days as well, like in 2007 as well when they were last battling. And it's kind of like that with M Short and Oggiano at the moment. But look at this. The Aston Martin is fighting back. Even though he had that spin earlier, he's still winning that train. He could potentially still get P2 in this race if he can keep this up. He is driving like a champ right now. He's forgetting what happened earlier on as well. He's going to try and get past Oggiano. Oggiano closes the door into turn 1 as well. Let's watch out for Jaquita, who is on the fresher medium tyres compared to Casper's hards battle. The hards will be a bit more durable, so I would probably expect Casper to hold on to P3 as well. Xander getting a time penalty as well. Only a few drivers not getting time penalties. That is Duncan, Lars, M Short, Casper, Ascom and our race leader Wilson. So these drivers are definitely holding strong with no penalties. I think some of them may be on cusp of getting a penalty, but at the moment they got no penalties. Then past turn 10 now. I have to say some strong performances from some guys. I'll get the track positions there, and we don't need to worry about the tyres for now. We're just looking at position changes, and my Jaquita, Lars, they've got to be proud of their performances so far. They've gained the most out of everybody else in this race.
Absolutely, and to be honest with you, they've kind of gone a little bit under the radar. You know, sometimes the less dramatic drivers, as we've got, almost a bit of wheel rubbing there between Oggiano and Danico, as Danico tries to fight back after that spin that kind of dropped him from that second place down to where he is now at the back of his sort of group, obviously with the group which his teammates leading. But yeah, Jacket's did a fantastic job. Lars as well is quickly catching up to this group, obviously on those softs. obviously the thing you've got to wonder is Askicombe gets a penalty, and that could be really, really impactful on his end result, just purely because there's so many cars within a short space of time that he's holding up. But now he's got a penalty. That could make a big difference.
I'm not going to say anything more.
Oggiano's gone.
I'm not going to say anything more because Oggiano's gone into a spin. I think we should not say anything good about these drivers, because the drivers that we want to do well and impressing us are just are under pressure, and they just fell into the pressure right now. But Oggiano could still catch up to this train, but it's going to be a lot harder as he's around about a second to Lars and then about 5 seconds after that. But what a shame, but that's allowing everybody else to make their way up the order, and M Short will have to fend for himself right now. The two Alpines were working together a little bit more, but now he's the sole Alpine that's fighting near the front right now. He's on no penalties. He could get P4 in this race, maybe even P3. If he could keep this up, that could be insane. Just by keeping penalty free on this game could have huge rewards, and that is what M Short is fighting for at this moment in time. M Short has been improving ever since he started the transition to no line when he joined F2 in season 28. VRT saw the potential in him. That's why he was signed to VRT very, very recently. And to be honest, I'm sure the VRT staff at the moment watching the stream will be very, very happy about his performance so far. And also for Karim as well, up into 8th position as he gets past Haller, passing to turn 2, heading towards turn 3. This could be an interesting fight on our hands as well, but Lars just not being able to catch up to this train as much as we thought. Maybe he's saving his tyre life a little bit more because he's going to get into a point where the softs are not at the optimum pace.
I'll tell you what as well, and it's one thing that I picked up on in the first stint of I was just about to say that Casper's in danger potentially of losing the DRS on the Aston in front of him, and I noticed this in the first stint, that Casper sort of towards the end of the tyre life just started to maybe lose that little bit of pace. But one thing he has got on his side is that Askicombe is really draining his ERS usage, whereas Casper is sort of saving his. So maybe this is Askicombe's attempt after getting that penalty to try and pull away, but it doesn't look to be working to the extent that he would have hoped. So, and we've got a change in position as well, just noticed further down, and Adler has pulled back that gap to Kerem and has now got past him.
Wow, Haller's doing sensational at the moment, and he could get past Lars as well again. He's finding so much more pace compared to the soft runners around him as well, and I think the benefit is he's on fresher tyres maybe compared to Lars, but for Kerem, they're on even playing field, so I think it's coming down to pure pace for Haller right now in that Haas car. So what can he do? Can he get within DRS? He's running out of VRS, so I'm looking at this battery usage around about 3% he was, so the crucial thing he's got to be saving and saving. Lars has got more ERS though compared to Hadler, so that could be his advantage. Kerem though is on 25, so he's probably going to be saving until the final moment at this stage right now. And if this is a race that the drivers need to do well, this is this one. And they're all doing a stellar job right now. There's some drivers who think they could have gone better. One of them is Fabi. He's gone for a spin past turn 7 and 8, and I think it's probably, I think I'm not used to him this lower down. I think it's going to be one of his off nights, I would say. I think in future race he'll probably be back to his usual self, I have to say as well. And Duncan not that far off the points either, but we could see Oggiano and Kerem fighting for position, and no, Oggiano's gone into a spin, and if there was damage, that would have definitely been a retirement from the Alpine car, but luckily no damage. At least he could keep going, but that would have been a huge crash if it was a real PSGL race. What a shame.
It's been a real disastrous 5 or so laps for Oggiano. Was looking really strong behind his teammate on hard tyres that were about to sort of come into their operating window against the mediums, but it's just all gone wrong for him in his last few laps. And yeah, real shame because the pace is clearly there, but just made a few too many mistakes in recent laps. It hasn't been a great few laps for Alpine overall, in fact, because M Short has been overtaken by Danico as Danico tries to fight his way back. But you can see that there's a little gap that's just emerged between Jack and Danico, and that's going to be really tough at this stage for Danico to claw that gap back.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard, also due to his penalties as well, but I have to say, with him making a comeback like he did when he spun, he's still doing a very, very good job, so don't let it put past him. I think he could go at the end of this race with his head held high as well. So a good job to him so far. So we're almost approaching lap 27. There's still plenty of things that can happen. We've seen so many crazy things happen in this race, and we've still got a train that is happening as well. We've even got Jack that's on the back of Casper. He could get Casper in terms of on-track position, even though there's penalties. And you know, he's doing ever so brilliantly with his ERS management as well. He's doing so much well, and Casper is, I don't know what he's doing, but he's on 6% ERS. He's doing absolutely perfect with his ERS management, and he could potentially get past Ascom with his fresher tyres, which are almost past the sell-by date on the optimum pace. So Casper, I think, would be pushing a little bit more and just waiting, I think, until the last couple of laps. And let's just watch Casper. Casper's got no penalties as well, so Casper's on course to be getting P2, which is what we were expecting him to get. He's been the one that's gained quite a lot of positions in this race as well. And we had another spinner. No, but it's not a spinner. It is a spinner. It's Karam on, I think it's turn 5 and 6. So unfortunate for him. Oh no, that's not like Wilson at all. Wilson's got a penalty, but that's not going to affect him too much. Look at the gap.
Yeah, he's in one of those probably rare situations, I guess, where he's got that sort of lead where it's not going to affect him. And maybe that's just what it was, you know, when you've got such a gap, you know, maybe just that slight bit of loss of focus, and someone who doesn't usually pick up penalties just loses focus for a split second, and that's all it takes. So yeah, that might wake Wilson up into this race again, and I don't know, you might suddenly see a bit more pace come back into him.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see. The penultimate lap of this social race, the final social race on F1 2021 for most of these drivers. The final chance for them to warm up before season 29 begins for real. And to be honest, I can't wait. And we still got more battles to go. Casper just ever so close to Ascom. Don't forget, Casper, F1 driver from last season, F1 esports driver from the Pro Series last season. Ascom, F2 driver from last season, and he's driving like his life depends on it, and he's driving for an F1 seat by the way that he's doing, that he's going at this moment in time. He's just on fire right now, and the way that he's holding Casper is amazing. Forget about the penalty situation. If without the penalties, Ascom will be in P2, but he's probably going to drop down to, I would think, P3 at the very most, and Casper's got a penalty. That is a saving grace for Ascom right there, and that's just going to be a move for Casper that he needs to now. He had the buffer that he desperately needed, but unfortunately that penalty has hurt him ever so much. So now it's definitely a battle for P2 now, and Ascom, I think, has probably seen on the left-hand side that he's got a penalty. Jeff has probably told him as well, because the drivers, like in the last game, are told about the nearest few drivers ahead and behind you about what penalties they have got. This is not like Casper to get a penalty at this late stage right now. Final lap, Wilson is leading, but let's forget about him at the moment. Let's watch a battle for P2. Casper goes to the right-hand side like his life depends on it. Ascom gets the switch back. Oh, a bit of contact there. Casper gets P2. Ascom drops down into P4. Jack was like, thank you very much. You guys making a mistake. I will go to P2, P3, thank you very much. And he's going to be on the podium. M Shaw could get Daniako as well. If he could keep up the pace too, that could be absolutely sensational right now, as we're seeing a few more yellow flags and all. That is Ascom again. The pressure is just getting to him, sadly. What a bad way to end the race after things were looking up to him.
Yeah, that's just absolute. That I've got no words for that. He drove such a great race up to that point, but it just looks like that incident with Casper rattled him, and he just struggling there to even get back going again on the tyres. He tries to recover. That's a real shame, but he's done enough, I think, in his 29 laps to hopefully put his name in the hat for potentially an F1 or at least an F2 seat.
Yes, Wilson has ended his PlayStation campaign in style. He wins his final race on PlayStation. Wilson, you've done fantastic, my man, at PSGL, and you're going to be missed on PlayStation, but I'm sure you're going to be doing absolutely fantastic on the PC side whenever you decide to come to the PC side on PSGL. Casper takes P2, finally, a race that does not get played by issues, and Ascom is out of the race. He's given up, unfortunately. But yeah, Casper was plagued in issues in Austria, I think it was, and also France, where he had the tyre glitch. Finally, he could celebrate with a P2 finish. M Short P3, Jaquita P4, Danny P5, Lars P6, Haller P7, Duncan P8, Korn P9, Xander P10, and I'm starting to get a little bit more emotional, Jake. That was Wilson's last PlayStation race.
Yeah, and just going out in true champion style with a commanding performance. You know, once he got onto that set of medium tyres, he was just unstoppable. The gap he managed to pull out was fantastic, and he managed it superbly to take, in the end, what was a comfortable win. And let's not forget, in the opening stint, he was under a lot of pressure. So to turn it from that situation into, in the end, quite what would look like a routine win just shows the class of Wilson. And like you've already said, you know, it's great to be having him on the PC side, but he'll undoubtedly be missed on the PS platform because he has done so much for PSGL. And yeah, just there's no more words. He's just an absolute champion.
I think everybody loves Wilson, even though he's been in different teams to me. He's just one of those drivers that he's so likeable. He's just so talented on and off the track that, you know, it's going to be hard to see a PSGL race every Monday night after I've commentated on F2 without him. I mean, it's not going to be the same. So, but I'll see if we can catch some words from Wilson to sum up his PSGL experience with us on PlayStation. But let's get through your results. Wilson wins from Casper in P2. M Short, no penalties, puts him up into P3. He probably was not expecting that. Chiquita P4, Danico P5, Lars P6, Haller P7, Duncan P8, Korn P9, and Xander in 10th. We got Kareem, Fed, Louis, Deso, Ogiano, Fabi, Ashbeth, Ascom, Lewis, and C Brain, and that rounds up your grid. Wow, what a race. That was absolutely fantastic. And any drivers that are definitely on Connor's and Kryptonite's radar after tonight's race?
Yeah, there's going to be quite a few. I think, you know, for me, a few drivers that stood out. You've got, I think Jaquita deserves a shout. He wasn't really involved so much in the action or the thick end of what we saw, but he just quietly went about his business, and he ended up finishing P4, and he was always in and around that lead group and taking advantage whenever an opportunity presented itself. And sometimes that's what you need to do. You know, it's not all about, you know, doing a dramatic drive or anything like that. It's sometimes just almost going under the radar and taking advantage when things go wrong. So he's one I would definitely say deserves a shout. I think the two Aston Martins, ultimately, they probably didn't finish where they would have wanted to after what happened. But nevertheless, they showed enough in that race to suggest that they've got the pace and the consistency to fight at the very top.
Don't forget, there are drivers as well that are probably going to be in F1 this season that are not here tonight, of course, but I think they probably know that they might get into F1 anyway, so that's why they're not here. So we'll give it a few more moments to see if Wilson wants to be interviewed. It will be a shame if he's not, but obviously it's not compulsory, of course, to be interviewed, but it would have been nice to hear his thoughts going into this, as going into the unknowns on the PC side. I have to say, going on to PC after spending so much time on PlayStation is no means feat. It's just so hard. The handling, I would say, is a bit different as well to get used to, and you know, to end your PlayStation campaign with a win, that is is really good. I'm just looking at the battle between M Short and Casper. 0.2 per second between the pair of them in terms of penalties. If Casper just pushed by a few tenths more, Casper would have been P2.
It's all it takes sometimes, just those thin margins. And Casper, I did mention it, I thought he was maybe just starting to struggle a little bit on his tyres towards the end, and maybe there was just a couple of laps where he was missing a 10.42. But yeah, I would never write Wilson off, no matter what he does on PC, because you know, he's just got so much talent, consistency, and, you know, he's just one of those drivers, a bit like Alonso. You know, some people wrote him off, you know, because he'd been away for a few years, but you know, he's got that same attitude in my mind, and I absolutely think he can succeed on the PC platform, and I'm very excited to see how he does.
I'm very excited to see how all the drivers do this season on PlayStation and in PC as well. I think all the commentators, all the viewers and all the drivers are going to be for an absolute treat. So let's see if Wilson's waiting in the interview room. No, he is not. So we are going to draw this stream into a close. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hit over around about, I think, the peak around 240, 250 people watching the stream, which was absolutely crazy. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you keep an eye on our socials at Premier Sim GL on Twitter to find out when the placements will be decided. We're not going to reveal when it is going to be. You'll just have to be alert and keep an eye out because you never know when the placements are gonna be. But the action doesn't stop there this week in terms of racing action. We got one race happening tomorrow at, I believe it's 8 p.m. UK time, and it's not a social race, it is a special race, which is I think gonna go down in history. And you Jake are gonna be one of the drivers. Talk us through the race that you're gonna be taking part in tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was more nerve-wracking the commentary tonight or the race tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely amazing event. It's a PSGL Legends social race. You know, this site's been around, PSGL's been around since, for about 12 years now. And there's been so many great names that have taken part. And it'll be good to have one race where 20 of these drivers have a one-off race in realistic performance to give some of the slower guys, me being one of them, a chance to fight away with some of the more established names. And it's just going to be fantastic. We got Mr. Grumpy, who's been around, I think, pretty much since PSGL was set up and is still racing now, 12 years later. And it's guys like that deserve a lot of credit for their commitment to the site, and it'll be great to race against them. And for me as well, great chance to race against Connor, who obviously I speak to a lot, and also Ash Best, who we saw racing against the very best of the best tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to be excited to see all the action there, and I believe I can't remember who the commentators are for that one. Do you know the commentators for that one?
Yeah, it's a really great commentary lineup to go with what should be a great event. It's going to be Luke Etheridge, of course, who commentates on our PS F1 tier. And Sam, who of course will be commentating on F3 this season. So a really great commentary lineup, and it'll be at Bahrain, and it'll be set to daytime setting to give it an even more nostalgic feel than it probably will have anyway.
Yeah, that is very exciting. 8 p.m. Be there or be square, as it were. So make sure you watch the Legend Social. We're about to wrap up the stream, but luckily we were talking about dragging the conversation for a few minutes because. Look who has joined our commentary booths is now a PS veteran himself, Mr. Wilson Hughes, who ended his final final PlayStation race with a bang. Wilson, tell us, how do you feel right now in terms of emotions right now? This was your final PlayStation race with us.
Well, I mean, to be honest, in some ways I'm pretty happy it's my final race in some sense because you've got to move on. They've got to move on to bigger things, don't they? So, yeah, I'm happy. At the end of the day, it wasn't that much of a emotional roller coaster. It was a pretty first to flag finish, you could say. So it wasn't anything too crazy. There wasn't much of my old rivals up there, such as like Blizzard, Just, so to say. So it wasn't anything crazy. But when you put it in that perspective, yeah, you can say it's pretty emotional. But I'm pretty happy to move on.
Yeah, because you've had some stellar races in your PSGL campaign. Let's forget about tonight because you were so dominant throughout the whole race. There was not much to talk about that. I can't remember when you started PlayStation. Did you ever think you were going to get 2 PSGL titles like you did in your campaign? Because when I first ever saw you race on PSGL and in other leagues as well, I saw that you were going to be a star. Did you have the same reasoning and expectations, did you think? Because I think, were you in a F3, I think, to start with?
Yeah, I was in F3, and I was actually meant to be in F2, but I got placed in F3 my first ever PSGL season. And there's a funny story. Well, I was doing an evaluation race once, and the big C in Gamer, I think it was, said he's good or something, or he's special, and it looks like they turned out to be right, as egotistical as it sounds. So, but yeah, I've always believed I could win the title. I think in season 26 I had some doubt, as you had Danny Moreno in the league, and back then he was just the absolute monster and pioneer of that top tier. And then as soon as he went, I knew 27 and 28. I said to myself, these are easy titles if you just put your head down and get the work done. And that's what we've done. So we got both the titles. And to be honest, yeah, I was expecting to win these titles, all these races. If I didn't win all these titles and all these races, I think I'd be pretty disappointed with myself.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll be very happy with the races you have done. And there's loads of races that you've ever done since you first started. What was your best ever race in PSGL history in your PSGL campaign? What was your highlight?
That's a tough one. I really liked Monaco in season 27. I think I got pole and then I had a grid pen, started sixth, and still won the race by like 10 seconds or something. So that's definitely a highlight. I think I've got something like 12 or 11 race wins, so it's hard to pinpoint one. But Canada in season 28 was also fun, coming through the grid, doing the double stop and still winning the race. Yeah, in general, season 28 and season 27 in general were just great races for me. I enjoyed every bit of it, and I really feel like I hit a new gear in those seasons.
I have to say, I think Canada was one of my favourite races I enjoyed watching last season. Absolutely incredible. So I think I have to agree on that one as well. So yes, keeping on the high, you're going to be moving to PC very, very soon. Not quite yet though, but what are your thoughts going on to this new platform? Do you think you're going to get up to speed straight away, or is it going to be taking a while to get used to?
Well, again, as egotistical as this sound, I think I'm expected to be not up there, but definitely up and about there, if that makes sense. I'll definitely be expecting myself to be close enough to the top guys. That's what I expect from myself. I'm sure that's what quite a lot of people expect from me. And as a two-time champion, I think that's what it should be expected from me. So I'm just looking forward to a new challenge, to be honest. PS4, don't get me wrong, great atmosphere, great community. But PC's where it's all at. PC's where all the viewers are, where the money's at, as some would say. But yeah.
I'm sure the PC guys in the chat, including George Morgan, will be very, very happy with that. And I hope that he gets to commentate on you in the future, because you are definitely a rising star. And I'm sure you're going to be in F1 esports very soon. And before we go as well, season 29 about to start for the PlayStation platform. Any drivers that either are there tonight or in the social races that you took part in that may be in the running to be the F1 champion and take the title off you in season 29?
Well, I mean, look, there's always surprises. I mean, nobody expected me to win the season 27 title. So there's always surprises. But if I were to put money in something, it would be between Just and Matthew, CRG Blizzard. It'd be between them. I don't know who I could put it on, but I want to say CRG Blizzard would take the title.
Oh, yes. I haven't seen him much this game as well. Maybe he's doing a Lewis Hamilton, hiding his pace a little bit, and he'll come to the first race and absolutely dominate as well. So, yeah, some very good answers there. Jake, any questions for Wilson?
I mean, first of all, just incredible job you've done over the past 2 seasons in PSGL, and it's going to be exciting to see what you do on the PC side. I'm sure it's going to go tremendously, and it's great to hear the confidence you've got going into that. Quickly on tonight's race, obviously the first stint was probably the most challenging aspect of the race. Did you ever feel under pressure from the 2 Aston Martins?
Yeah, there was a few moments, not where I felt pressure, but I definitely was surprised by their pace. I've never heard of these guys, no disrespect to them at all, but I've never actually heard of them, so I wasn't really too sure how they drive, how they race. I couldn't really suss them out. I had to really get a feel pretty quickly. And there was a few moments the last sector, I think I pulled 8/10, and I thought maybe I can break DRS, but it never really got to that point. But yeah, I was kind of struggling with the softs. When you're out front in this game, I feel you can really destroy these softs by pushing. And the cars behind are benefited massively by just sitting in your DRS. So they were definitely tricky, but I wouldn't say pressured. As soon as the pit stops happened and a few people got held and the hard runner was behind me and I was in the mediums, I was pretty confident I was on for the win. There was a few moments. I think there was one moment. I can't remember if it was in the softs or the mediums, but I didn't really put it in the wall, so it was a bit sketchy. But I'd never felt any real pressure.
No, that's fair enough. You did a great job, especially in that second stint. And yeah, I mean, I'm guessing it really the perfect way to end off on PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have went any better, to be honest. If you asked me if I would win this race by nearly 10 seconds, I'd probably say no, considering you had people like Duncan in it and stuff like that. But I'll take it any day of the week. It's a win. It was pretty boring. It would have been nice if it was a little bit more exciting. But boring races, you don't get them. You don't get them often in these types of races. So I'll take it.
You might be hoping for those boring races back again when you start on PC.
That is definitely true, Jake.
Thank you very much, Wilson.
Congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Wilson, for all you've done on PlayStation. We are going to miss you, and hopefully you'll have huge success on the PC side. And I think everyone on the PlayStation side, including myself and Jake, and everyone else in the chat, will be cheering you on PC whenever you start. So best of luck, and enjoy the break until you get your PC sorted. You deserve it.
Yeah, I certainly will. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to wrap up the stream. And it's a bit bittersweet knowing that Wilson is not going to be racing anymore for a while. But that means we could have we will have a new F1 champion this season. And I was going to ask you, Jake, any predictions, but it's too early to tell, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so, it's so easy to look at the races and judge it off them, but there's so many mind games going on. It's like in real life testing, you get drivers that hold back, like Lewis Hamilton, a few others. You probably get drivers like this, here at like the likes of Duncan. I feel like he'll be a lot stronger come the start of the season. And you've got the CRG boys, Juice, Blizzard. It's going to be really, really tough to call, but I'm excited. I think there's going to be a couple of new names in the top tier, and we might have seen Wilson depart, but as ever, as they say in real F1 or in PSGL, it's time for new heroes to step up.
Yeah, definitely, and we get to witness it in front of our very eyes as we get to commentate on the action as well. So we're going to wrap up the stream. Thank you for watching. Make sure you join Luke Etheridge and Sam tomorrow for the Legends Social, where PSGL legends past and present get to be racing on the same racetrack, which I'm looking forward to watching whenever I have the time, of course. Make sure you do watch it, because I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And then we have the placements, which will be announced very, very soon. Like I said, keep an eye on Twitter at PremierSimGL to find out when that's going to be announced, because there's many sign-ups to go through. We've had so many sign-ups on PlayStation and PC, so it's not going to be done within a day. So make sure you keep an eye on it. Evaluation races, time trials, get those sorted before midnight tonight if you haven't done so already as well. You can also follow us on social as well, at JessGames95 is my Twitter handle. And Jake, I'll let you plug yours before we go.
I think it's at JWarriorComs. I'm pretty close to 300 followers, so if you could give me a follow, push me up to that, I won't object to it.
Yeah, follow him right now. Get him to 300. I'm sure you would appreciate it. But for myself and Jake, we will see. Well, PSGL will see you tomorrow for the Legend Social, and we will both see you for the first round of Season 29, which will be starting in a couple of weeks' time. I'm excited. Jake is excited. I know you're all excited as well. And have a good evening, everybody, and goodbye.